Thursday, we check in with our good friend Larry. Larry from the R&D, the R&D wing of First Rule Film and Pelopidas. It's where we do our show from, and he leaves us wowed every single week with something new. Good morning, Larry.
Hey, good morning, guys. How you doing today?
You just handed me a circuit board, which when I was a kid was the size of a transistor radio.
Probably, or a room.
Yes. Yeah.
So,
right.
yeah, this is actually called a Raspberry Pi, and it's not a Pi. It's actually a mini computer, and it's actually a full computer that you can buy for about $35.
What?
Exactly. That's the appropriate response. So for geeks, these actually aren't new. For prototypers, these have been around a little bit, but they just released a new model in February.
Yes.
And this is literally a full computer. It's got USB ports. It's got Ethernet, so you can hook up. You can actually put wireless in there if you buy a little wireless adapter. It's powered via the same thing your cell phone would be powered with. And you just put an SD card in order for your storage. And it's got HDMI out. On board. It's $35.
All right, how many?
What do you do with it?
What Pentium is this? Is this a Pentium 90 or what?
This is where it gets a little interesting. It uses the same sort of technology your phone uses, so what's called an ARM chip. And I won't get too technical there.
Now, hold on a second. For those who are listening on the radio,
Yeah.
we should say that you handed me something that looks like a circuit board that is smaller than the palm of my hand.
Correct, about credit card size.
That's a good point. It's the size of a credit card with a couple of boxes, and the biggest box being 1 inch above the card.
Yeah, and
Right.
what I've got here in my hand is an example of that put in a little case that's about a $5 or $10 case. You
Looks
can
like
buy
a
in
pager.
So this is what that's encased.
Correct.
Okay.
And the reason that I think this is interesting, that your listeners would find this interesting, is that I had just the other day a mom come up to me and she said, my kid's really interested in engineering. She really wants to get more into learning about computers, but I don't want to give her a computer to tear apart and mess around with. Well, this is a $35. So I told her, go get one of these. This is a $35 computer. That's a full-fledged computer. You can load any version of what's called Linux, which is a free operating system on it. And actually, right now, Microsoft is putting out a version of Windows 10, so this can run full Windows 10 like you'd buy in the store.
But how powerful is this?
So it actually has, this is what's crazy, it has a quad-core 1 gigahertz processor on it and a gig of RAM.
Okay, you're talking Chinese to
Okay,
most
so
people.
for computers like you'd go buy a laptop, it's less powerful than that for sure.
Okay.
But for, it would have been more powerful than a computer you'd have bought probably 3 or 4 years ago. So you're talking plenty of great internet browsing, Word documents, no problem at all.
How do you hook up a monitor to this thing?
So actually, if you look on the side, there's actually an HDMI port right on the side. So you can just plug in an HDMI. Now, part of the thing that makes this really cool is a lot of hackers and geeks like myself have taken and made projects for this that even if you're not technically savvy, you can just take and 3 steps on a computer,
Right.
load an SD card full of some programs that can make this be like an appliance. So what I've got this one to do, for example, this one is the best arcade in the world. It literally has every video game console ever created through PlayStation 1 in a single box
That tiny
can
little
run
box?
behind a TV. And then if you're like, oh, I'd like to play Super Nintendo, or I want to go play some
So
Genesis.
you need a joystick.
You can actually plug in an Xbox controller, just like you'd have on your Xbox. But that's just an example. Other people have taken it and loaded home theater software on here, and it made an amazing home theater PC that you can hide and have running all the time.
So this is
behind
where
your
you
TV.
get your Netflix from or whatever
Sure.
else.
Exactly. So instead of going out and paying $99 for an Apple TV,
Right.
you can
Where do you
something
get
like
this from?
You can do it via Amazon. If you just search Raspberry Pi, it'll pop right up, and you'll see it's about $35.
$35.
And then if you buy it with a case and a memory card, you're still under $60, and it's an amazing gift for any techie in your life, or if someone looking to add some cool tech to the world.
Larry Stenenbeck with us talking technology. Can I ask you a news question?
Sure.
We're talking. A lot of people are talking about these encryption apps that these terrorists are using that are they're not using Facebook, they're not using Twitter, where the governments can spy on them.
Yeah.
They're using these encryption apps. Talk for a moment about these encryption apps and how sophisticated are they and how readily available are they?
Well, I mean, basic encryption is something that most of us don't take the time to do just because it's a pain.
Right.
There are really good encryption you can use for your email that's very, very hard to crack. But it's just a matter of both people on both ends taking the time to do it.
But these are apps that you can download for free.
Sure.
And instead of going to my Twitter app, I can go to this other app, and you and I can talk anywhere around the world, and it's encrypted.
Correct.
And only you and I.
A good example of that is there's one called Silent Circle, which is a phone and text service that does that through encryption.
Right.
And in general, it is more secure. I would not put it past any of the 3-letter agencies that they can get in that. And in fact, we've seen in a lot of previously leaked documents, a lot of times they have backdoors into those specific programs because they know that's where people are
Right,
hiding.
right.
I'm not saying that's particularly necessarily good either, because people should have the right to encrypt and have private communications between one another.
Right.
And essentially, that's what these programs are
But
doing.
that's the cat and mouse game between you have a new business, you're talking to your vice president over, that should be private so that no one can steal it. But
Sure.
you're a bad guy, I'm a bad guy, we're talking, we want the governments to be able to know.
Well, you know, it's one of those things. I think this is the balance you always have to play. I think people have the right to have private communications, even digitally. And so encryption is actually a really good thing for that. And there's other ways to catch these terrorists because they're sloppy online.
That is Larry Stenenbach, who has brought us this thing's called Raspberry Pi.
Raspberry Pi.
Raspberry Pi. It's a full computer the size of a credit card.
Crazy stuff.
Unbelievable.
And $35.
35
Golly.
bucks. There you go.
Yeah.
Larry, thanks for coming
Something
in.
to do every day. Thanks, guys.
824, Big 550, KTRS. Menino's